Good evening, friends. I don't know where you are in your journey. Maybe you're standing on a mountaintop, breathing the thin air of success. Or maybe you're crawling through the valley, wondering if the light will ever return. Wherever you are, I came to tell you something. Maybe you're in the middle right now. Not the exciting beginning when everything feels fresh and full of promise, and not the triumphant ending when things wrap up with clarity and purpose. But the middle, the murky, confusing, stretching part, the part no one celebrates, the part we often want to skip, it's that chapter where the prayers seem unanswered, the dreams feel delayed, the progress feels invisible. You're showing up, but it doesn't feel like it's amounting to anything. You're walking forward, but the scenery hasn't changed. You're being faithful, but it feels like you're being forgotten. But hear me. Just because you're in the middle doesn't mean you've missed your calling. Just because it's not easy doesn't mean it's not holy. And just because it hurts doesn't mean it's not part of the healing. The middle isn't glamorous. No one talks about the years in the wilderness. We talk about the promised land. We talk about the Red Sea moment. But what about the wandering in between? Yet it's in the middle where God shapes us. It's where character is carved and endurance is born. It's where we learn to trust when we can't see, where we learn to worship in the waiting, where we learn that faith isn't built in the spotlight, but in the stillness. If you feel stuck, it doesn't mean you are. If you feel lost, it doesn't mean you've failed. It just means the story is still unfolding. Joseph's middle was years in a prison for a crime he didn't commit. David's middle was hiding in caves, running from a king he was destined to replace. Ruth's middle was loss, poverty, and gleaning scraps from a field that would one day become her legacy. Even Jesus had a middle, a wilderness, a garden, a cross, before the resurrection, so don't rush the middle. Don't despise it. It may not look like much now, but it's doing more than you can see, and it won't last forever. One day the pieces will come together. The threads will form a tapestry. And you'll look back and realize that middle, that quiet, stretching, uncertain middle was where you were becoming. The middle is not the end, it never was. It's the proving ground of something greater. It's the whisper that the author is still writing. So stay faithful, stay hopeful, because the story isn't finished yet. We all carry scars. Some are visible, cuts, bruises, marks that time and experience have etched onto our skin. Others are invisible, the silent wounds no one sees, but we carry them all the same. The brokenness of our pasts, the grief, the rejection, the loss, the failures. We are walking stories, each with its own chapter of pain. And sometimes it feels like those scars are the final word on who we are, that those wounds, those painful experiences, are the conclusion of our journey. But I want you to hear this. Your scars do not define you. They are not your identity. They are not your summary. Scars are simply sentences in a much larger story. They are not the whole tale. They are just the parts where you've been wounded, tested, and forged. They are evidence of what you've survived, yes, but they are not the final sentence. Think about the stories we cherish most, those of redemption, resilience, and transformation. We don't remember the heroes of those stories for their wounds. We remember them for what they overcame, how they rose again, how they found strength in the brokenness. Their scars were the evidence that they had been through something fierce and lived to tell the tale. And that's what your scars are. They are the proof that you've been through something, that you've faced the fire and didn't burn away, that you've been bruised, yes, but you haven't been broken. But here's the important part. You are not your scars. They may be a part of you, but they don't have the final say. They do not summarize your entire story. If you think your scars define you, you'll live in the past, in a place where you constantly relive your wounds, over and over again. But if you realize that scars are only sentences in a much bigger narrative, you will live forward. You'll know that healing is always happening, that growth is always on the horizon. Scars are not the final chapters of your life. They are punctuation marks along the way, a comma, a semicolon, a period. They are markers of survival, yes, but not the end of the story. Look at the wounded healer, Jesus himself. He bore scars in his hands, his feet, his side. But those scars were not the end of his story. In fact, they were the very proof that he had conquered death, that he had triumphed over pain, that he had made a way for us to heal. Your scars may be deep. They may be hard to look at, but let me tell you something. They are not the end of the sentence. They are just part of the ongoing story that God is writing in you, and that story isn't over. It will never be over. You are more than the sum of your scars. You are more than the mistakes, the regrets, the broken relationships, and the moments of weakness. You are the one who endured. You are the one who has been redeemed. And your story is still unfolding. So instead of seeing your scars as a summary of who you are, begin to see them as chapters in a story still being written, a story of healing, a story of strength, a story of grace, a story of hope. And when you start to see your scars for what they truly are, just sentences in a larger narrative, you will find the power to move forward. You will find the courage to embrace who you are becoming, not just who you've been. And you will see that the most beautiful part of your story is still to come. We often feel like we are alone in the midst of our stories, don't we? It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that the struggles we face are uniquely ours, isolated and unseen by others. When the nights are long and the road is hard, it's tempting to believe that no one else could understand. It's tempting to think that we are walking through this chapter alone. But here's the truth. You are never truly alone in your story. I know it can feel like it sometimes. I know the silence can be deafening, the distance can seem vast. But when you look closely, you'll find that you are surrounded by others who are writing their own stories of struggle, of hope, of survival. And we all share in that collective journey. You see, we are all walking through our own narratives, each of us facing different battles, different dreams, different pains. Yet at the same time, there are echoes of our stories in one another's lives. The stories of pain and joy, loss and restoration, struggle and triumph. They are woven together in the great fabric of humanity. This is where the power of community comes in. No matter how much you feel like you're carrying your burden alone, know that someone else has felt that weight too. Maybe not in the exact same way, but they know what it feels like to carry something heavy. They know what it feels like to cry out and wonder if anyone hears. They know what it feels like to question whether they're going to make it. And this is why we need each other. God did not design us to go through life in isolation. We were created for connection, for companionship, for support. Our stories are meant to intersect, to overlap, to lift one another up. There's power in sharing your journey with others, in letting someone walk beside you through the dark moments. And here's the beauty of it. When we share our stories, we remind one another that we're not alone in our struggles. We give each other permission to be human, to be vulnerable, to be imperfect. We help one another see that no chapter is ever the end, and that we can keep going because we are not walking alone. Think about the people who have been part of your journey. The friends, the mentors, the family members who have walked with you, even when you didn't ask for help. They have been the ones who have stood with you in the silence. They've been the ones who have cried with you, laughed with you, prayed for you, believed in you when you couldn't believe in yourself. And in turn, you've been that for someone else. Even if you didn't realize it, your presence in their life was a reminder that they weren't alone. But beyond the people you see with your eyes, know that you are never alone in the spiritual realm either. God is always with you. Even when the world feels distant, He is near. Even when it seems like everyone else has turned away, His presence is constant. You are not alone in your pain, in your waiting, in your becoming. He is walking with you every step of the way, writing alongside you, reminding you that you are His beloved. And in those moments when it feels like the walls are closing in, when the weight of the world is heavy, remember this: Your story is part of a bigger story, a story that stretches beyond your lifetime, beyond your understanding, beyond what you can see. You are a thread in a tapestry, woven into a larger narrative of grace, of healing, of transformation. You are connected to every other soul who has ever walked through this world, and together we make something beautiful. So when the road gets tough, don't close yourself off. Don't retreat into isolation. Reach out. Find someone who is also in the midst of their own story and walk together. Share your struggles. Share your victories. Share your hopes, your fears, your dreams. And remember that you are not just part of your own story. You are part of a community of people who are walking through their own journeys too. Together, we create a story that is filled with healing, compassion, and hope. So, no matter where you are in your journey right now, know this: you are not alone. There is always someone beside you, and there is always someone ahead, waiting for the moment when you'll reach out and share the gift of your story with them. You are never, ever alone in this. So tonight, as you walk back into your life, I want you to remember this. Your story isn't finished. This chapter is not your conclusion. This moment is not your definition. There is more to the story, more grace, more purpose, more healing, more light, and the best part, the pen is still in God's hand, and He writes beautiful endings.